talk about the disc. This is really neat. So with the disc, who's heard of the disc personality profile before? You hear that? Okay. Okay. This was something that was like more popular within Cal Williams. I'm not sure other brokerages, and this is like an all brokerage call, all industry call. So it's something that was more popular within Cal Williams, and it's essentially a personality profile. And the really neat thing about this and why it's different than other ones is a lot of times when you take a personality profile quiz, it's pretty in depth, right? And you've got, oh, you score this and this. And it's not something that I could go out and meet Tyra and say, oh, you must be this personality profile, right? It's I mean, maybe with the Myers-Briggs, maybe, but this is something that you can peg easily, so it's more simple. And the reason that that is so valuable is because in real estate or in the industry you're in, it's about connecting with people. It's about speaking their language. And let me move my mic closer. Okay. It's about speaking their, is that better for audio? Can you hear me better? Okay. So it's about speaking their language, right? And it's about being able to communicate in the way that they can hear you. And so the wonderful thing about a DISC personality profile, and I'm going to give you a link to do a free one, is once you learn about it, and that's what we're going to do by the end of the call today, I'd like you to be able to recognize it in your clients, because then you're going to be able to know how to present something. Because when you're presenting a listing presentation, a buyer presentation, multiple offers, all of those things, you're going to do it differently depending on the client. And that's why I've always, if you've ever heard like practice your listing presentation over and over again the same way, that as a real estate coach, which I guess, if I know we have some new people on here, if you're not aware, I've been a coach for 7 years and I've done over 10,000 individual one-on-one calls with coaching clients. And the concept of doing the listing presentation the exact same way every time makes me want to pull the rest of my hair out, because we know that people respond differently to different things. And if you take too long on it for somebody that's really get to the point, you're going to talk yourself out of a listing. And if you don't spend enough time on it, you're not going to close the deal, because they're not going to feel safe enough to have enough data. So that's going to be an intention by the end of today, is for you to be able to recognize which one, and I'll show you the 4 here in a second, your client is potentially even on the phone without meeting them. And you're going to be able to get more appointments, more listing appointments, more buyer appointments, and you're going to be able to help the client at a higher level. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing to learn. And then one thing, if you are in the Keller Williams ecosphere, this was a big thing within our brokerage. And then has anybody noticed how it kind of petered out a little bit, how it wasn't a big thing if you've been in with Keller Williams? So if you didn't know this, here's some insider information, because I've worked with executive team and corporate. And I mean, I'm streaming it on my call, so it's probably fine to say, but our contract ran out. So it wasn't that this wasn't helpful anymore. It's that we had a contract with the disc team, and that contract ran out and they didn't renew. So that's why it wasn't talked about anymore. It wasn't that it wasn't valued anymore. We just made a contract with someone else. So the disc is still really valuable. It's still taught. So if you notice it kind of go to the back end, that's why. I want to show you right now. I'm going to do a screen share on this, and let's talk about what the disc is. And there are 4 categories. So this is what this is, the disc. And I'm going to give you the quiz to take yourself, and we're going to go over all this. But this is the disc. So what I want you to do is I want you to understand the different profiles. And you might, if you haven't taken the disc assessment yet, which I know a lot of people on here haven't yet, which I'll give you that free link. You might, as you hear this, you might recognize like, I might be more of this, or I might be more of this. So when we look at the disc profile, it's 4 categories, D-I-S-C. And then you might think of clients in the back of your mind. Oh, that client might be more of a D. That client might be more of an I. So D is direct, right? Think results oriented, bullet point, get to the point. They might be a little bit intimidating. When you're working in luxury and higher price points, you might find a little higher prevalence of D. Sometimes that can just happen. Strong-willed, forceful, and firm. So they're going to be get to the point, right? And then I'm going to go over this in a lot of different ways. So if you don't grasp it the first time, I've got a lot of different charts. That's going to be your influencer. This is like your life of the party. You get energy from people. You're outgoing. You're enthusiastic, optimistic, high-spirited. Relationships are really important to you. Lively. So that's your I. Your S is going to be more even-tempered, a little bit more accommodating, patient, humble, tactful, and I don't want to say caretaker, but kind of conscientious about other people, and loves to be a big support. And then your C personality is going to be analytical, more reserved, more precise, maybe a little bit more private, very systematic. And so they're going to be very numbers oriented, right? So we have the DISC. So I want to give you this is a fun analogy a business partner taught me, because we used to teach this as well. If we're in if we're on a road trip in a car, okay, so your D person is going to be driving, right? Because they like to be in control and they want to get there as fast as possible. Okay, so they're going to be driving. Your I person, who's the life of the party and gets energy from people, they're going to say, hey, let's play the license plate game. Let's play road trip bingo. Let's tell scary stories and silly jokes. Your S personality is going to be the one that says, hey, is anybody hungry? I brought some snacks, right? A little bit more prepared. Does anybody have to go to the bathroom? We can stop. Okay, they're going to be, is anybody thirsty? And then your C personality is going to say, okay, it's going to take us approximately 45 miles and 50 minutes to get to our destination. Okay, so that's if you're in a car and you've got each one in there. Now the thing is, everybody's got about like two dominant ones, so you're probably going to be a mix of two. So you could be, a common one in real estate is DI for an agent. So you're direct and get to the point, impatient, and also love people, right? And you like to network, or you like to go out and meet people. Also, there's a lot of other combinations. You could have an IS. That's a common one too. You really like to care about people, make sure they're taken care of, and you get energy. You like to be around people. You're also going to see an IC. This is someone who's very detail oriented, who likes to share a lot and connect. So this is going to be someone that goes to network. Again, it depends, right? You might not have much I. And so this is the point where, first, it's important to understand ourselves, because you might be a realtor that doesn't have as much I, and you think, I don't like networking. I don't like talking on the phone. And instead of pushing yourself, because that's what you think you're supposed to do, because you took a class and thinking, oh, I can't, maybe you're a DC and you're direct and you're results oriented, or you're detail oriented. So maybe you come up with a really wonderful newsletter that has all the stats, and maybe you find a tech thing that makes it really efficient, where you can send texts out and do a touch plan that way. Or maybe you do network with, but it's with a bunch of engineers. So this is where understanding how your DISC profile shows up can actually help you figure out how you want to lead generate as well. And how to have a business you like, instead of forcing yourself to be a certain way. So there's a lot of really wonderful concepts about like having this and increasing your business. So I want to show you this. This is a wonderful chart. So when we go deeper into the DISC personality profile, and we look at like this, this back end of it, there's also things when you're thinking of clients, we're going to have certain priorities for each one. They're going to be motivated in different ways. The fears, this is one that you may not learn about as much. And I have a mental health background, so I just nerd out on this stuff. That's what I did before real estate. So there's going to be things on here that you're going to get, or you're going to see, that you don't normally hear in some of these classes about the fears. This is big. And some things you might notice, and then some of those limitations. So when we look at the D, and I forgot to tell you the agenda. So just real quick, we're going over the overview of these. Then I want to show you, I want to have you guess mine, and then I'm going to show you mine and give you the free DISC personality. And then I want to give you scenarios, and then you tell me how those might be different. So I'm going to tell you a certain scenario and that they're a D profile, and then we're going to talk about what that might. And so it's a quiz, but not really. Like, it's a fun quiz. Don't get nervous. It's something we're going to do all together. And then we'll have a Q&A and conversation that's open about the last 25, 30 minutes that isn't live stream. So this is live stream. So that's the agenda. I realize I didn't say that. Okay. So when we're going back to the D, so this is the dominant, right? Get to the point, bullet points. They want immediate results, take action, challenge. That's their priority, right? They want to grow. They want to push. They're motivated by power and authority, competition, winning, success. Now, if you're a D, it doesn't mean that you don't care about people, right? Or that all you care about is power or authority. It might be that you just like getting stuff done, the feeling of accomplishment. And that could be tied to helping people. If you don't have a lot of S in your, right, this is like a little bit more caretaker, that doesn't mean you don't care. Just notice that. Okay, so this is, the fears are a big thing. So loss of control, being taken advantage of, and vulnerable. So here's a great example. If you have a client that's a high D personality type, and you don't let them make a lot of decisions. Let's say it's a luxury client, because that's a little bit more common sometimes, and you don't let them make a lot of decisions, and you're a little bit too smooth, they might not talk to you again, you know? Whereas sometimes with a luxury client, you're going to act a little bit more as a consultant than you might with someone who's $150,000 that just wants you to tell them what to do, you know? Because some of those clients, some clients, very high-end clients, I almost thought of myself as like, this is weird, but like a waiter at a really, really fancy restaurant where I'm gonna know exactly the wines, what they pair with. I'm gonna be right on it. I'm gonna create great service, but I'm gonna let them choose, right? So I'm gonna say, hey, here are all the best options. Here's all the information. I'm gonna save you all this time, and here's three, one, two, three. What would you like? Great. I'm gonna go get it right away. That's the way that you can win with someone. That's if you feel really intimidated, they're very high D. That's how you win, because they want to save time and they want to save money, you know? So you're going to notice directness, forcefulness when you're on the phone with somebody, let's say, and they're not trying to get off the phone with you, but they're really quick with their words. That's probably a high D. If they're like, yep, okay, yep, got it. So what we want to do when we do this, and this is about rapport building, is we want to mirror and match. So if I'm on the phone with someone that's a high D, I'm going to match them right back, and they're going to respect me. But if I go into high I and I think, oh man, they might not like me, let me try to people please, or let me try to warm them up, I'm losing them. I'm losing them. So we want to mirror and match when we're talking with people, because that's how they hear it, right? Because if I went way too detailed, I'm not speaking their language, they're not going to hear it. Does that make sense? So it's called the change agent, right? So that's the dominant one. And so there can be impatient. Sometimes it can be more insensitive. Doesn't mean that you don't care. Again, they can just, so that's your high D. And then we look at our influence, okay? So these are the types of clients that they're really going to want the relationship. So you're going to hear them expressing enthusiasm, take action. There might be more collaborative. They're motivated by social recognition, group activities, friendly relationships. These are going to be the clients that you're going to win them over by having a blast driving around in the car and making jokes and making connection, or taking them out to lunch. Because this person, if you offer to take them out to lunch and talk about what, like they might not want to. They're like, why are we going to lunch? Let's just go see the house. So that can be something to look out for. But you might have a mix of both, right? So motivated by social recognition, group activities, friendly relationships, fear of social rejection, disapproval, loss of influence, being ignored. So these are people that are going to want to know that you like them. They want to know that's important to them. They want you to like them, and they like you too. So you're going to notice some charm, enthusiasm, sociability, more optimism. They're going to be more talkative. And then limitations, it might be a little bit more impulsive, maybe a little bit more disorganized, lack of follow through. A question I get often, just because it's an ADHD call, is there a pattern with ADHD in the DISC profile? Honestly, I haven't seen that as much as you think. Right, we could see that this sounds kind of ADHD, right? Like social rejection. A lot of us can have rejection sensitivity dysphoria, which is like fear of rejection on steroids. And it doesn't feel good to be, right? Like a lot of us have that. I have it for sure. And then like impulsiveness, we can be disorganized. We can have a lack of follow through, executive function. So you're gonna, it's not like if you have some of these, then you're totally have this. It's overall, what is your pattern? Because these are all normal things. It's just how much is the volume turned up on that? Because nobody likes to be rejected, right? I don't know if anybody loves it. I really don't. Okay, so we've got really direct and to the point. We've got people that are going to be more life of the party, and then we're going to move to our S. So these are giving support, maintaining stability, enjoying collaboration, stable environments, sincere appreciation, cooperation, opportunities to help, right? Think support, fear, loss of stability, change, loss of harmony, offending people. And you're going to notice like these are going to be your patient, this wonderful listeners. If you have a friend that you can just call and they're going to listen, you're not going to call the super high D friend that's like, okay, can you talk a little faster? Or, like, okay, what's the point? And again, we can shift, but it's how much is the volume turned up? What's the most apparent part? So these are people you can just talk and they're never bored. And they're just gonna be super patient, team player, very calm, a good listener, very humble. And then limitations, overly accommodating, people pleaser, might avoid change, might be kind of indecisive. And so with the S personality, think of if I get on the phone, and this is why it's so important to pay attention to this. if you're getting on the phone and you're speaking the same speed and the same warmth or, like patterns to every single person, your conversion rates are not going to be as high. And it's not because you need to be inauthentic. It's that you need to speak their language. So if I get on, I'm still authentic and I get on the phone and I talk to a ID and I'm bullet points, right? And then I go to an S personality, I do the same thing. Am I going to connect the same way? No, they might feel stressed. They might be slow down, right? So when I'm on a listing, let's say a listing appointment, I'm going on a listing appointment and I'm going to go deliver a listing presentation, which I loved that, very high conversion. With a high D, I'm going to say, hey, here's the listing presentation. I can go through the bullet points really quick in 5 minutes, or I can go through each page. What would you like? How many, like, which one do you think that they usually say? Just give me the bullet points. I mean, just give it to me a sign I've done this before. Seriously. So don't think you have to go through your whole listing presentation, because they might actually think, I don't know if this is the right person because I got really bored in that. And they won't even tell you. You might not get chosen because you talked yourself out of a presentation. So with an S personality, which one are they going to say? Go through the bullet points or page by page? Page by page, right? Same with the C, the detail oriented, page by page. And when I'm closing something, so I'll tell you, when I want to close a listing, I'm at a listing presentation and a Heidi says, oh, we're going to talk to other people. My response, my close is going to be very different. So I'll tell you, this is a fun close on a Heidi because I want to match them. So these are both real scenarios. So both scenarios, a D and an S, they're more prevalent. D says, we're going to talk to other people. So with a D, I'm going to come in hard and I'm going to say, hey, totally get that. And if I walked out right now and let you do that, I wouldn't be the agent for you. You need somebody who's going to fight for your listing. I think the world of you guys. I love your house. There is no one who's going to work harder or try harder or do more for your house than me. What else can I do to earn your trust where you signed today? I want this. I'm fighting for you. What else can I do? I'm going to save you time. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go that approach, and they're going to be taken aback because they were, and I signed it. And then I told them, and I called all the agents that they were interviewing and canceled it because I met them. Right. And it's true. Right. So an S personality, if I did that with an S personality, I'm going to freak them out. That's going to be too much. Right. So what I'm going to say with them, because they need safety, they need stability. So I'm going to say, thank you for telling me that you're going to talk to other people. And I totally understand that. And I want you to have all the information, and I don't want you to feel pressure at all. I want you to feel really comfortable. What other information could I give you today that might help you make a decision if you chose to sign today? You don't have to, but what else could I give you? Because I really care about you guys. I know I could do a good job. I love the neighborhood. I just care, right? And both of those are authentic. That's me. Both of those are me. I'm not faking it. Those are very different closes. Now, and then I'll tell you, and an I personality, I might say, oh my gosh, you guys are going to cheat on me, aren't you? Right? I'm going to make a joke. I'm going to be fun. I'm going to be like, well, don't make me cry because I'm going to have to watch and be jealous like I'm stalking my ex's social media, but really I'm stalking you guys. And we had such a blast. Can I buy you dinner? Can I buy like what's it gonna take? Because I want you in my life, right? So that's a very different close. And a C personality, which I'll get to now, I'm gonna give them data because they want information. They want accuracy. They want data. So I'm going to ensure accuracy. They want maintain stability. They want to challenge assumptions. They want things to be correct. And they're motivated by opportunities to use expertise or gain knowledge, attention to quality. These are going to be your engineers, right? You're very detail-oriented. The fear is criticism, slipshod methods, and being wrong. So that's, if I could highlight, that's being wrong. So you're going to notice precision, analysis, skepticism, reserve, quiet. These are the people you go on a listing presentation, they've already found the comps before you. They already found we printed out the GIS already. We knew how to get that. Limitations, overly critical, tendency to overanalyze, and they might be more isolated, but they're going to be all about the facts. So when I'm going to present with them and I'm trying to close the deal and they need more data, depending on them, they might just need more data. Like there may be a close. Both them, I'm going to say, okay, let me get you some other data. So if you look, because I'm going to convince them with data. I'm going to say, okay, and this is something I'd recommend for you to know is the average agent in our region takes the average days on market, let's say, is 30 days on market. And here are the numbers. Here are the stats. I printed them out. You're going to print out a lot more with these guys, and I have a lot more stats. Average days on market for the average agent is 30 days. As you can see here, mine is 20. The average list to sell ratio, meaning if a house is listed at 500,000, on average, it's going to sell for 95% of that, right? Of what it's listed for. For me, I sell for 98% of what the list price is. So average agent sells for 95%. I sell for 98. Your house is worth $500,000. Let's do the math, and I'd literally do the math with them. So 500,000 and an extra 3% is going to get you $15,000. So by signing with me today, you're going to sell 10 days sooner and you're going to make $15,000 more dollars on average. And here are the stats. That's how I'm going to close those guys. And so can you see how important it is to know what kind of personality profile instead of doing the same thing every time? We want to know our clients and we want to know ours, because you might naturally be a D and you don't have a lot of S. So you're going to have to really soften, or you're going to be too blunt for this person. Same thing if you're hiring, right? If you're hiring an admin personality, you're probably going to want an SC. You want somebody who's going to, watch out for you and help you and support you, that's their joy zone, who's very detail oriented. You're going to want some C, you're going to want some S probably. There's also great agents that are an SC. You just want to cater your business to that profile, and then hire a D for some of your empire builders that are going to build out divisions. So there's not one profile that's going to make you the best agent or not. Just because I think some of them are put on a pedestal, and I want to make that clear. So that's the DISC. So it's important to, once you start to recognize this, and you're going to see clients that are going to have a mix of both. So now we'll take the next level, and you might have a DI where you're going to be direct to them to the point, and you're going to add some charm in there, right? Or you're going to have someone who's a C personality and a DC, so you're going to be direct to the point, and you're going to be very accurate, because if not, they're going to catch it. Or an SC, you're going to be calm and steady, give them space, and also very accurate. So once you start to recognize, that's what's going to be really helpful. Okay, so let's see. So, I want you to guess mine. So put in the chat, what are two, which ones do you think I might be? If you know me, am I a D, I, S, C? If you were to choose two, what would you guess? And just throw in the chat. You got a DC, an SC, IS, SC, ID. And I know not everybody knows me in the wild. Okay. So you got some S. So I see a lot of S's, which is really sweet, because I think you're saying that because I care about you. That's my guess. That's why we have so many S's. And that's really sweet. Okay. So I'm going to show you. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I am actually, which is interesting. I've always been a higher D, and my C came out higher right now. So I'm a CD, I guess. So I'm accurate and detail oriented, and then direct and to the point. I do really care. So this is a great example. Like, I care about everybody here. Like, how much I care about you. And you can also see that my S is lower. So this doesn't mean you don't have a heart. It just means your predominant is, I like to be accurate and I like to be efficient, get stuff done. And that's why I love these calls, right? If you think about it, I go get the research, and I have a topic everybody wants, and I go get the summary, and I research 8 different articles, and I get the bullet points to you, and then deliver them in a very accurate, direct way where you can hear them. And that's right in alignment with my profile. So that's mine, CDDC. So what you'll see when you take this test, oh, now I lost it. Okay. So I'm gonna put this is the link. This is the free one. There's a lot out there. We'll tell you it's free, and then you fill it out, and it's not. So this one actually is free. They really give it to you. And when you take it, what you're also going to get is your adapted style. So you'll get your basic natural style. Now, I've had this question, can this change? Yes, it can actually. So it can adapt. It's not going to, you're not going to I'm not always going to be like a high SI tomorrow. But some of these can kind of move around, get a little bit higher as you go. It just depends, and it can depend on a lot of factors. So they can change, but not quite as drastically. There was a time 15 years ago where I scored a little bit more of a DI, and the C was a close one, and this has gotten higher. So then you get what's called your adaptive environmental style. So this is a reflection of the environment you're in now. So I like taking this disc sometimes, because what it does is it tells me, am I in my joy zone? So for me, I want this to match, when I get my adapted style, I kind of want this to match this as much as possible. Because otherwise it's telling me, if we look at the differences, so the C is really high. So right now I'm probably, and we're scaling a company, right? So I have help and it's grown so fast that we need more. So I'm way more detail oriented than I normally would be. And my D is a little bit lower because we've got to go methodical and build out the systems. And then I have very little social interaction because I work remotely and I need to work on this. And then it's in a pattern of change, right? So it's not as stable. So isn't that interesting how it's like I've heard it described as tea leaves, how it really makes sense when you understand the environment. And so if you do this and then you see that your C is way up, it might be how can you leverage some stuff, you know? Or if your D is way down, it also be if you're in a relationship and you can't be honest, you can't be direct, you know? So however you interpret this, but I just think the adapted style. Now, some people also say this is how you show up in certain environments, just the one you're in. So again, there's a lot of interpretations, but that's how I was taught when I studied it and trained under it. So that's that quiz that I just put in the link. That's a free one. And then if you signed up for this, we have your email. So we're going to be sending that email link out to you. If you did not catch that, or if you miss it, or if you're driving in the car right now, but I'll put that in the chat one more time. So yeah, we send out the newsletter every single week with the bullet point notes, the link to the recording, and any kind of links to that. Okay. So, and so then we're going to take this, oh, and then I'm going to give you one other link too. And this is on this, whoops, there we go. If you want to go even more in depth in this, this is the another part of that website, and it has so much more. So if this is just fascinating to you, and we'll email this out as well, there's the link to just more in depth on so many of these, and it talks about the prevalence. So in the real estate world, we have higher D prevalence. In the world outside of real estate, only 2% had the D personality. 2%. Isn't that insane? 2% had a D personality type. And then when we look at the other ones, and then we look at, and this is, and the link I gave you is like, why is it so rare, right? So the I percent had about 40%. And so again, this is one of two because we have two. So I had about 40% of all of those. So 40% of people had I. And then if we look at the S, let's see, 3%. That's interesting. Okay. So the S percent was only 3%. And who took this test? Now I've heard it's a lot higher. And I really like this website, so things might have changed. And then the C personality type came with about 17%. So you can see the highest, most common is I, then it goes C, then it goes S, then it goes D for a normal population. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, lots of comments in here. This is great. So I'm gonna quiz you on a couple, and then we'll go to questions in about 5 to 10 minutes. So I want to see, when you have a D client, right, and you're presenting a listing agreement, do you get, and you can answer in the chat or you can answer in your head, do you get straight to the point? Do you offer to explain line by line? Do you ask them if they would like to go to lunch first to develop a more solid relationship? If you have a D personality, straight to the point, line by line, ask them to lunch. Don't go line by line. And if they, maybe not lunch, right? We want to go straight to the point with that D personality. We want to go straight to the point, be direct, save them time and money. That's how you will win them. If you're working with another agent, this is really interesting, who already has multiple offers. If you can pick up over the phone on the disc profile, you're going to have an advantage. So if you have an I personality for an agent and you're delivering multiple offers, when I call, am I gonna say, hey, I just sent it to you, I texted you, it's in your email, hope we get it? Or am I gonna say, hey, oh my gosh, I've heard so many amazing things about you. What can I do to work with you? Like, you're the talk of the town, and how do we get this done? Because I've heard so many good things, and I can't wait to work with you. So that's one option. Or am I gonna say, hey, just to let you know, statistically, our offer is blah, 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 right? Like, which one am I going to do? Am I going to be super direct if they're in high I? Am I going to compliment them and charm them? Or am I going to give them stats? I'm going to compliment and charm them. So kiss the bun, someone wrote that, enthusiasm. Yeah, exactly, like energy. And so when you're recognizing this, and you'll see when I go really direct to the point and I might be a little bit colder, If you don't recognize that, you might think they're mean. You might think they don't like you. Don't make it about you, especially if it's in the first 2 minutes of the conversation. They don't even know you to not like you. So if you feel like they're not getting a lot of warmth, it might be because they're a high D, you know? And I think I'm going to do a screen share of the disc just in case anybody's come on a little bit later, just so you can see this. Oh, this is a good one too, right? So I like this one: direct to decisive, determined, influencing, interactive, imaginative, stable, steady, sweet. If I have an agent who's an S personality, I'm not going to push them, right? Because if I said, okay, it's in the inbox, you better choose us, they're probably not. But if I say, hey, what do you guys need? What does the seller need? How do we make them happy? And hey, by the way, I have my lender. If you want to talk to the lender for a little bit and talk about how solid the loan is, because the last thing we want for you is to choose an offer and have it not go through. And so we're really committed to this going through, and we've already done the paperwork, right? I'm going to have a different tone. Do you notice my tone when I'm S personality? I'm going to be calm. I'm going to be steady. I'm not going to give them anxiety. I'm going to be patient. With my high I, I'm going to be charming. I'm saying, oh my gosh, like I'm going to have more energy. With my D, I'm going to be very direct. And C, I'm just going to be very correct. So again, with your clients, with yourself, with agents, if you're managing people, someone who is a SC personality, are they going to do better with a salary or commission? An SC, do they want salary or commission? If you give these people just straight commission, an SC that wants stability, you're going to stress them out. You're going to stress them out. These are the people's, not always, but a lot of times are going to do they would rather have a $65,000 salary than the option to make $100,000. Just, I'll take 65, tell me what I need to do. I'm going to come in every day. I'm going to do my job, you know? Whereas if you have an agent, and I've made this mistake on our, we had a team, we were doing 300 sales a year. And we made this mistake where it was when we had showing assistants. That was a whole thing. So we would pay people to show houses. And we made this mistake. I made the mistake to get these high D personalities in and give them a salary. And they didn't do very well. They weren't very motivated, right? And so knowing that is going to help too. And then with the partner, right? If you have a spouse or a partner or a kid, knowing how to talk to them is going to be helpful. If you're a high D personality and your spouse is a S personality, which is not uncommon for opposites to mix like that, and you come in and you talk very direct and graph, and you feel like you're just being direct and helpful, their feelings might be hurt. So you might soften knowing that they're, so this is a great one to have your spouse do, or kids. If you have a kid that loves, D likes challenge, right? So if you have a kid and you want them to clean up their room and you're like, okay, let's set a timer. Let's see how much you can do in 5 minutes. Let's go. Whereas another kid might get anxiety. You might say, hey, I'm so proud of you. I know you can do this. Let me sit with you while you clean your room, So as you start to look for this, you're going to see how much this can show up. And it's going to help you communicate. It's going to help you speak their language. It's going to help you convert. And it's going to help you help your clients at a higher level. Okay, so here's another, I've got a couple scenarios. I'm going to go down to these. Let's see. Okay. If you're helping an agent on your team with conversion rates, I'm going to do a couple more of these. So you're helping a team on agent on your team with conversion rates, and they're a C personality. How are you going to help them? And type in the chat or just think about it. If you're helping somebody on your team with conversion rates, what's the thing that's going to help them or motivate them? And just, there's not a right answer. Just type whatever comes to mind, Let's see, how do I get to the, okay. Let's see. Okay, specific step by step. Yep, you're going to give them details. Another thing you can do with a C personality, they're going to want conversion rates. So if you say, hey, on average, and this is true, yeah, run the math. Yeah, yep, run the math on the. So this is great. So Yaya is was a team leader. I think maybe still. I mean, he's just a natural leader, so I'm sure you're doing that. But run the math on activities they're currently doing, and then make a very specific step-by-step game plan to get them back on track, and show them the conversion rates. Right on this, and this is true. On average, agents take 120 conversations for one closing. That is the average when we pulled that in the coaching program that I worked for 7 years. So 120 conversations. Now an ADHD agent takes half that. Isn't that crazy? So when I did this for the last 7 years, I've studied the conversion rates because I'm a C personality, and the average ADHD agent took 60 conversations for one closing. because our conversion rates are double, right? It takes us half the amount of time as a non-ADHD agent because of our empathy, our intuition, our pattern recognition, there's enthusiasm, our ideas, the way we process. It's actually pretty incredible. Yeah, spreadsheets, models, exactly. So that's how, if I have someone I'm coaching or someone in the office, I'm going to do that. If I have a high D personality, how am I going to help them with conversion rates? How could I help them? And just type in the chat or think to yourself. This is more tricky, right? So feel free to type in the chat. With a high D personality, I'm going to tell them here, I'm going to say, because they want to save time and money, they want to get to the point. I'm going to say, hey, here, and these are all true stats. Yep, get to the point. Just tell me what's important. Boom, Jocelyn nailed it. So with them, I'm going to say, hey, here are the 3 highest conversion rates of sources that you can call. Number 1 is Sphere and Database. And these can swap around depending on, number 1 is Sphere and Database, highest conversion rate. Number 2 is for solo owner and expired. That's going to have the highest ones. And then the third one is just listed, just sold. So that could be door knocking. And again, this is a wonky market, so it might be different. But for a long time, those were the top 3: was Sphere and Database, and then just listed. FSBO expired and withdrawn, and then just listed and just sold. So right, you're going around next door and say, hey, this was on the market for just sold, right? This was on the market. We had 5 offers. 1 got it, 4 didn't, which means we have 4 people in this neighborhood that want a house just like yours, that just lost out, that are ready to make an offer. Is there any part of you that'd be open to selling? Because I still have the contact information for those 4 people that are pre-approved, that want to be here, that just lost out, and we could potentially get 4 people bidding on your house. Is there any part of you that might be open to selling or know somebody down the street? Like, there's some conversion rates right there. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I'm going to tell them what's efficient, and then they're going to go do it. And I'm going to give them the script that works. Whereas an S personality, if you're coaching them, they're going to want to help. And so here's the script that works. No, how can I contribute? I need to give when I call. And so what's something I can call about? How can I invite them to something? Can I give them a compliment? Can I offer them a home valuation? Can I invite them to something? You know, that's going to be more motivating and get their conversion rates up. Yeah, okay. And so then, and then last one, and then we'll go to questions, a price reduction. Price reduction. So a high D personality, how can I get a price reduction? What's the best way to do that? The higher D sometimes is trickier, right? So with a high D, what I've seen a lot and what I've been trained on is time and money. That's really important. And so straight up tell them exactly, show them past results. Yeah. So what I might say is, okay, high D, on average, the house is getting the highest price within the first 3 weeks, or whatever the current stats are on that. I need to look. Yeah, I'm gonna be direct, because there's a fear. If we go back to the fears, and this is really helpful too. And again, we'll send all these graphics out. When you go back to the fears of these different DISC personality profiles, loss of control, being taken advantage of, vulnerability. So there is a fear that you're not telling the truth. So I want to present very clearly, and I'm gonna say, what do you want to do? And I'm going to say, if you do this, this is likely to happen. If you do this, this is likely to happen. And I'll say that a lot with ID. This is your house and this is your money. I'm going to present the options, the best options I can from my experience, but you get to decide, because this is your house and your money. That's going to calm any fears that they have of, I'm trying to take advantage or take control or sway them. That's something I'll say a lot on that. So yeah, high D with that is somebody I'm going to do with that. Let's see. And then if I want a price reduction for an I personality, what would be something I do with them? Yeah, somebody said give them 2 options. Yep, make it easy for them. Yep. Yep. With an I personality, how would I get a price reduction? I mean, again, I'm going to turn on the charm. I'm going to be more fun. I'm going to ask them questions. I'm going to keep it a little bit lighter. Take them cookies. Yeah, exactly. All the details. Remember, their fear is social rejection. They don't want you to not like them. They don't want you to disapprove. So they might actually be a little bit easier swayed. They're not going to fight you. A high D might fight you more. An S personality, they're going to want you to tell them, like, what is, if we're looking at S personality, they're going to want you to tell them, like, why this matters and why it's important. And they're going to need sometimes more time to process. So I'm not going to pressure an S personality. If I use embedded commands and downswings, they might sign right there or they might agree. But these are the people that that night they have a ton of anxiety and they email you the next day because you pushed them too much, you know? Oh, that's Eric said. You don't want people to think your house is overpriced, do you? Ooh, that is so smart for the I personality. Bam. Yeah. Yeah. Cookies with price reduction. This is great. Yeah. And then a C personality, you know what we're going to do? We're going to stats. They're going to say, why? Show me stats. So this just adds a whole other layer to your conversion rates and to helping people because we want to speak the language that they speak so we can help them. And like that's what we're here for, is to really make a difference. So yeah, this is the DISC personality, and we'll send all this out. Again, we send that newsletter every week. And it's